Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Act, Achieve, Live. Happy to have you here. Today I'm going to talk about a really important and great topic, I feel, and this is about the winner's mentality, what it is and how to develop it. And why this is so important because first of all, every high achiever, high performance individual, and anyone who's ever set and achieved a goal, whether they realize it or not, they have a winner's mentality. And this mentality is a lot different than from what I call the middle class or the mediocre mentality. This mentality is not typically something that you're born with, and or it's also taught and mentored. And that's what I want to do with you is I want to teach you this. I want to mentor you with this with my programs and my episodes and all of the things that I do, because it's critical that if you want to achieve a goal, if you want to take an area of your life to a new level and you want to thrive, it's very, very critical that you learn and acquire the winner's mentality. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you 4 points. There's a lot more than this, but I like to keep these kind of short. 4 points of describing an aspect of the winner's mentality, the difference between this winner's mentality and the middle class or mediocre mentality, and what you can do to acquire this mentality. So let's get started. The first one is a winner's mentality. They're not afraid to step out of the norm and embrace anything different, which is way different than the mentality that most of us are born and raised with. Why? I talk about this all the time. We are taught to settle. We're taught to be like everybody else. We're taught to play it safe. And humans as a species, we're not built to play it safe. We're built for adventure. We're built for risk. We're built for the unknown. That's what makes our spirit soar and makes our soul happy. People that have a winner's mentality, they're not afraid to step out of the norm because they know certain things. They know that, hey, I'm going to give this a shot. It might go against the grain. It might be the road less traveled, but I also know that I'm not going to stick my neck out and have it get cut off. I know that worst case scenario, if it fails, most likely I can have my current life back in a very short period of time. It's not like the end of the world or anything. And anything that comes into the life that's different, especially when it has to do with an area of our lives, if it has to do with relationships, if it has to do with a goal of getting fit and losing weight, especially if it has to do with an opportunity of some form, especially having to do with like business, right? And I want to focus on this part for one quick second. I want you to think about something. I want to pose something to you, and I want it to make you kind of have a aha moment. I want it to make you go, that's really interesting. We are taught all through school, elementary, junior high, high school, even college. We are all taught to be good employees. We're taught to be employees. We're going to go to college so you can get a good job, do good in school so you can go to college and get a good job. Everything's about getting a good job and being a good employee. Here's a question I want you to ask yourself. Step out into the real world in your area and just take a look around. All the people that have the biggest homes, the nicest cars, the most freedom, the most options, the best lifestyle, whether you know them or not, what is the one thing that almost all of them have in common? They're business owners. They're entrepreneurs. So in most cases, if the best way to achieve a level of freedom and financial independence in life is to be an entrepreneur and start a business, why are we not taught that in school? Just something to think about. You see, people with a winning mentality, a winner's mentality, if they want to improve the financial aspect of their life, they are open to something different, mainly entrepreneurship. So how can you acquire this point where you're more open, you're not afraid to step out of the norm, you're not afraid to go against the grain, and you're willing to embrace things that are different? Well, job one with all these points is to just think about it. Now that you've thought about it, you become aware of it, that's typically enough. But what I want you to do is I want you to check yourself. The next time you get presented with something different, an opportunity in any area of your life to step out, take a chance, and maybe improve it, although your instincts are probably going to tell you, no, thank you, I want you to fight it. Because it doesn't hurt at all for you to learn more about it and look into it. Which brings us to the second point, which is really an offshoot off the first point. The second point of a winner's mentality is they have a way different attitude about things that are presented to them, especially when it comes to opportunities that can benefit and increase an area of their life. So this is pretty directly related to the first point. Let me tell you what a winner's mentality is when presented with an opportunity to increase an area of their life. Their attitude, their mentality is they're thinking of how it is, how they can, and why they should. The mediocre or the middle class mentality teaches the exact opposite. Our mentality, when presented with, say, an opportunity for any area of our life to improve it, is how it's not, why I can't, and why I shouldn't. Do you see how polar opposite those things are? And we wonder how it is that so many of us, we live our lives in quiet desperation, and we live that definition of insanity where we are doing the same thing and the same routines and the same habits over and over, yet somehow miraculously we're expecting different results. And a lot of it comes down to this point right here. A winner's mentality, when presented with an opportunity to increase any area of their life, is they're thinking how this is, how they can, and why they should. And the mediocre or middle class mentality is how it's not, how I can't, and why I shouldn't. So again, just like I mentioned on the first point, the fact that I'm even saying this to you and you're listening to this typically is enough for you to become aware enough that you might change that outlook and that mentality when presented with something. And it's not even being presented. It could be you looking for something and you come across something and go, wow, what if this is? And instead of you going, no, I've seen those things before. No, it probably can't. No, I won't. You're thinking of all the reasons why it isn't, how you can, why you can't, and how you can't. And now you're thinking like, well, what if it is? And see, that what if, that's a huge difference between a winner's mentality, mediocre mentality, is they look at everything with a what if mentality. What if it's true? What if it's real? What if I can? What if I can make it work? What if it works? What if it does? Versus the middle class mentality tells us, no, I've seen these things before. No, they're not thinking what if. They're thinking, no, it's just not real. They're thinking of all the reasons why they can't, why they shouldn't. Make that change. The third point of a winner's mentality is they say yes. They're in the habit of saying yes to things when presented with something. And it's not necessarily an opportunity. It could just be anything. Versus the middle class mentality teaches us to not only not say yes, but they teach us what? They teach us to settle. It teaches us to settle. Just settle. Don't take chances. Don't step out of the norm. Be like everybody else. And the winner's mentality says yes. Let me give you a quick story. I'm going to try to keep this quick. I played guitar almost my whole life. I played in a band years ago. I've done some acoustic stuff, but it's been a while. A year ago, this last October, so I guess it was October of 23. A month before that, I got a call from Jen, and Jen's the lady that I play music with, and she's one of my best friends, and she owned the gym that I was a part of. We got to know each other. I learned that she sang. She learned I played guitar. We got together once or twice and played around and thought about someday it'd be fun to do something. Out of the blue, she called me back then because she's been a part of a band for 9 years. She called me out of the blue and said, Shane, Steve, the lead guitar player, is going to be gone at a gig a month from now. I told the band about you. Do you want to fill in for Steve? I'm going to tell you right now, it freaked me out. I didn't know the band. I was scared. I need to learn all these songs. But because I've developed this winner's mentality, of course, right off the bat, I said, yes, absolutely. And then I got into it. I met the band. I spent the next month learning songs. It wasn't easy because prior to that, I was not really a good lead guitar player, and I had to become one quick, and I had 30 days to do it, playing solos and things like that. And here's the deal. Have you ever said yes to something, and then the day came, and you're like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Why did I say yes? That was me. That Saturday morning came, the morning of the gig, and I was freaked out. I'm going, oh my God, I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. What am I thinking? What was I thinking? Why did I do this? What did I get myself into? I was so full of stress and anxiety and nervousness. Pushed through, did it. And of course, it went great. I made a couple mistakes, but nothing bad. It was great. I mean, everyone liked it. The band was like, you did it. It was fun. I felt like $1,000,000 after we did it. But that's not my point. It's what that led up to. After that is when Jen and I really got together. We formed Jane and Shane Live Acoustic. She sings, I play acoustic guitar. We've been a year into it now. We're very busy. We've got a great following. We have a great time. And I'm here to tell you that playing music almost every weekend now with Jen in front of people, playing my songs is the happiest thing that I do. It has brought so much happiness to my life. It was so needed for my soul, especially after losing my daughter 3 years ago. Like this was the missing piece that I needed to help with my grieving and to just feed my soul. I can't even imagine my life right now if I wasn't playing music. And it all happened because I said yes and I was scared. Okay. So enough of that. I'm not here to talk about myself, but I want to tell that story because I want to let you know that the things that are presented to you and you instinctively want to say no, start saying yes. Now, don't say yes to stupid, crazy stuff. Read between the lines here, right? But you're going to be surprised how more often than not, you're going to say yes to something that you really are kind of nervous about and you're not really sure. And it's going to open up areas, it's going to open up opportunities, and it can have such a positive impact on your life. Okay. So, what can you do again to have this yes mentality? Well, it's simple. Just fight that urge that you've been taught with the middle class mentality your whole life and start saying yes. Don't just instinctively blow it off. And that yes could be a friend of yours calling up, going, "Hey, I've got an extra ticket. Let's go do this next weekend." And you're thinking of all the reasons why you can't, why you shouldn't, and start thinking of reasons why you can and why you should and say yes. And I promise you, you're going to start living a more adventurous life. You're going to learn to take some risks. It's going to feed your soul and you're going to move and progress an area of your life forward. I promise you. And the last point I want to hit you with today, very important, is a winner's mentality. They have a competitiveness about them. Now, look, this can seem a little cutthroat. I don't mean it, and it's not cutthroat. And maybe you're not a natural competitive person, but you have a competitor inside of you, and you need to cultivate that, and you need to bring it out because it counts. Now, what do I mean by that? People that have a winner's mentality and they achieve, they never think that they're better than anybody else. And they know they're not. No one's better than anybody else at all. But that also doesn't mean that they don't want to be like everybody else because they don't. They have a competitive spirit in them that just won't allow them to settle and be part of the crowd and be like everybody else. And I want to reiterate, it's not because they want to be better. It's because they just don't want to be like everybody else. They want to be different. They want to be their own person. So when I talk about the competitiveness that a winner's mentality has, let me give you a couple examples. They know that when they embark on something, so say it's one of those opportunities I talked about earlier, or let's say it's fitness. They decide, I'm going to get fit. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to pursue a fitness program. Here's what a winner's mentality knows. They know that most people won't do it. Most people will talk about it and most won't. And they know that most people that actually do embark on the same journey, they'll give up and quit. And you know what? That fires them up and it motivates them because they have this attitude of, I'm willing to do what most won't. And that's how I'm going to live a lifestyle that most don't. Okay. It fires them up. It motivates them. I've been on my fitness journey for 4 years. I'm in the best shape of my life since I was in my 20s. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. I know I don't look like most people my age, and I don't think I'm better than anybody else, but I don't want to look like most people my age. I don't want to. Most people my age are out of shape. They're not fit. They're overweight. They don't have good cardio. I don't want to be like that. And the fact that I choose to not be like most people in any aspect of my life fires me up. I'm no better than anybody. Obviously, I know that, of course. But I get fired up going to the gym knowing that most people, especially my age, are not willing to work like I work. It moves me. You need to acquire a competitiveness about you. Now, this is not, of all the 4 points, this is probably the hardest one for you to wrap your brain around and become, because there's that part of you, especially if you're a relationship-based person, you love people so much, right? And the people that are really relationship-based typically have the least amount of competitiveness in them. And your instincts might tell you, well, that's kind of cutthroat and that's kind of me, thinking I'm better than everybody. No, it's not at all. Okay. But if you want to win at any area of life, you want to improve it. Here's the one thing that you can do that will help you. Just look at what everybody else does in that area of life, do the opposite, and you're going to achieve it. Because most people will settle. Most people won't do what it takes. and you won't, and you're going to win. So develop that competitiveness, feed it to yourself. But I really hope that these 4 points help you. And I want to remind you guys as we finish this up, if any of the information that you get from me, if any of this helps you with these podcasts, just do me a favor, follow this podcast, share it with other people. We're trying to grow it. We want to start bringing on some guests, but I'm not going to do that until we have more of a following and more subscribers. Go check out my website, Disruption Factor. There are things on there that can help you. Reach out to me through the website or follow my social media at Real Shane Perry on Instagram or Disruption Factor on Instagram. But hey, have a great day, guys. Apply this information. I promise it's going to change your life.